Welcome to a special broadcast of The Market Report, which is going to focus on learning about St. Pete's evolving real estate market directly from some of the industry experts here in the Tampa Bay area. My name is Schreiner, host of Tampa Bay Today here at Money Talk 1010 a.m., and I'm taking some time out to speak with a number of people that will be on a panel for a special Market Report luncheon on Thursday that you can be a part of. We're going to go through the list of those that are here with us today. Starting here in the studio, I do have Ray Woods, who is from Realty One, who will be heading this up. We will also be speaking with Jay Williams of Celebrity Home Loans. We have Lucas Sokolowski from Remy Emerson Vacation Rentals, and we have Carrie Clagett from Red Door Title. I would like to welcome you all here to the studio so we can have this great conversation about the Market Report and the Market Report Luncheon coming up on Thursday. So, Ray, why don't we start with you today? How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you asking.
You're with Realty One. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and why we're having a Market Report Luncheon on Thursday?
That's a fair question. Well, my name is Ray Woods. I'm a brand new realtor. Just got my license a couple months back. I come from the car industry. I used to sell cars for Maher Chevrolet. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention that or not. Absolutely. Okay. And I kind of took an approach, more like a studious approach to the real estate industry. I've always wanted to participate, and I had been told it takes a while to really get a pipeline going. So when I came in, I figured, I want to approach it as a business rather than as an individual. So first thing you want to do as a business is get your name out there. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it other than bring some of the industry's best, the top, brightest minds together. There's been a lot of misnometer, is that the term? Misnometers?
Misinformation.
There's a lot of misinformation out there about the industry because of raising rates and those kind of things. So I figured, why not bring some of the brightest minds together and hear direct from them about what the true status of the real estate market is and how you can identify opportunities. No matter what time it might be or what phase it is.
Well, I've already learned just from a brief conversation getting to know you before we began the program that things are changing so fast. It's day to day, sometimes hour to hour as numbers and information changes. So we're going to do the best to present that both during this show and on the panel where you can really dig down into some more information, which we'll talk about how people can be a part of that later on in the show here today. So thank you very much for being here, Ray, and organizing this event and bringing along with you Jay Williams from Celebrity Home Loans. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're bringing to the panel on Thursday.
Hi there. Thank you. Yes. So I am working with Celebrity Home Loans. We are a direct lender. And what that means is we're able to not only pre-approve people, but we're able to get them pre-underwritten, which is a big deal when it comes to making an offer. A lot of the things that are considered when a listing agent is looking at an offer is how sound is this buyer? Right. So having a file pre-underwritten, going in with all the facts, it really takes a lot of the stress out of the purchase process for people. So that's kind of our claim to fame is our mortgage assured product.
Okay.
But we do have a number of different products to help people. It's always a good time to buy for someone.
Right.
So in order for us to figure out if now's a good time for you, we have to take a look at your specific situation, but we've got tons of loan products out there for just about everyone.
I guess generally what I hear is the best time to buy is probably yesterday, but since you can't go back, today. So you need to have your personal financial situation in order, and the more organized it is, and if you can get those pre-underwriting and the other things you were talking about taken care of, it makes the process faster, smoother, more likely to go through, so you'll be able to get the home you want. The seller will be able to release the property. Works better for everyone. So we'll dig more into that during this conversation. We also have Lucas Sokolowski from Remy Emerson Vacation Rentals. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm great. There's going to be an interesting part of this luncheon. We're going to talk about first-time home buyers as a part of this event on Thursday, but there's also the accessory dwelling units and like vacation rentals, mother-in-law suites, smaller homes. So is that where you focus? Is that where your expertise comes into play?
Yeah, so Airbnb is a sexy word. A lot of people want a part of it, want one, they want another place where they can vacation or have it as an investment or both, right? So what I do is I help people analyze data. I help agents find, these properties and convert homes into these properties or accessory dwellings or whatever it might be. And we walk that journey with the homeowner. So it's a tough journey. There's a lot of different obstacles, and we help them and guide them through that process.
And I know that a lot of communities have different regulations and legislation, so what might work on one side of the street might not be acceptable literally across the street because you're zoned differently. So there are so many nuances, I would imagine, in accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Exactly.
So short-term rentals overall, one of the key things, and I'm sure we'll discuss it, but is it's regulations and it's if you're allowed to do it. A lot of people spend some money and they get something together and then they get a notice in the mail saying, hey, you need to stop doing what you're doing. And we try to make sure that doesn't happen to any of our owners. So the key is to educate and then protect just by sharing knowledge and sharing information.
Right. And there may be a lot of people listening right now who have either a separate entrance rental or a mother-in-law suite that they may want to rent out for another purpose, and they want to know how they can maximize that for their own benefit. But again, they have to have a professional, an expert who knows how to work the nuances of legislation, rules, and regulations. So we'll get into that as well. The fourth person we have here on our little private mini panel, all of which will be appearing with others at the Market Report Luncheon on Thursday, is Carrie Claugette from Red Door Title. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Red Door Title and what you will be discussing on the panel on Thursday.
So with Red Door Title, I do the business development. So I partner with realtors like Ray and lenders like Jay. And I just realized we had a Ray and a Jay. And then we have property management that we like to hook people up with and make sure we make the right connections and really just help agents in this market find their niche and really give them customer service that's just next level.
Okay, so that's a lot to bring and discuss and to help pull people together to be able to maximize the use of their property. So, Ray, let's come back to you. And by the way, this is kind of a roundtable situation. Whenever we're talking about something, each member of the panel will be speaking up and adding to it because in many ways and in many situations, they will all have a different approach and perspective, and they will try to work together to make it best for the consumer. Ray, you're doing the Market Report Luncheon on Thursday. Let's start by telling people where it is, when it is, and how to be involved if they want to attend.
Yeah, so it's located at the City Center building right in the heart of downtown St. Pete. The address is 100 2nd Avenue South. It's in the Suite 202 South, so it's in the South Tower on the second floor. I'm sure there'll be signs posted in the lobby to help you locate where it's at. It's from 12 to 2. We've got shrimp and champagne provided by Red Door Title. So come out and, come out with some good questions about, maybe the process of purchasing a home, or if you are interested in investing in ADUs, the proper steps of going about doing that, as well as managing it throughout the ownership phase. But the overall purpose of the luncheon really is just to inform the public about today's current market and how to make real good decisions, take advantage of some of the best practices by, some of the local area's top experts. So that's kind of what the idea behind the luncheon was, and I hope people come out and they learn a little bit.
Well, let's break up this conversation then the same way you're going to break up the luncheon on Thursday. You're basically doing 2 one-hour sessions, correct?
Right. I've got 2 one-hour sessions, but before I get into detail, I should, in fact, identify why some of these panel members are here today and why they'll be there on Thursday. Because, a lot of the decisions I made was with the consumer in mind. So, like when I met Jay, she informed me that her specialty, her niche, was that she walks a homeowner not from the process of the sale, like from start to finish, but even beforehand, like prepping, getting ready to buy a home. And you'll notice, like, some of we start off the first hour describing the 12 steps of a sale, okay? And the first 2 steps, the first step is to calculate how much you can afford and then save for a down payment, right? So who better to address that than Jay? So that was kind of like why I asked her to join the panel. Obviously, there's more steps. I don't give away too much. Right. We still got the event on the 15th. But, like, I took the same approach for the second hour, too, and that's why Lucas, I was glad to hear he had the availability on his calendar to appear and to speak to the audience. He specializes in helping you manage, your property if you have already developed an ADU, right? And also making sure that you don't develop an ADU before you know whether or not it's something you can do, right? Like he mentioned.
The last complication you want to get into is to have a tenant and then to find out that you're renting illegally, and then you have a whole nightmare situation of problems, and you're impacting families in many situations, and especially if it's longer term and not just like a weekend or an Airbnb situation. That's why having an expert like Lucas here from Remy Emerson Vacation Rentals can help you navigate through that. So I see why you invited Lucas to be a part of the panel on Thursday.
Yeah. And then Carrie has a great personality. She's very bubbly, very professional, positive, right? In today's day and age, you can get caught up in a lot of negativity, but she's always been positive. Every interaction I've had with her, and they also happen to have a beautiful office right on the bay next to Jackson's in downtown Tampa. If you haven't checked it out, you should. So I was like, what better place to do a closing than here, So
you're looking out at the views, knowing that you are making a deal that is going to change your life as you have a new home or a rental property, as you're building a portfolio. And having somebody that's good, when you're looking and looking at Carrie's history of the Red Door Title, the customer service aspect, which is so important. Having somebody that is relaxed and confident and positive and uplifting will help you through the process when you're stressed. So I understand the customer service aspect as well. So you've brought together a great team, and this is only a portion of it. There are so many others that you're bringing in as well, from Van Dyke Mortgages, from Navy Federal Credit Union, Rock Solid Home Inspections, Florida Building Inspection Corporation, and even from Tim of Shelby Construction Company. You have panels and people from each of these different organizations coming in to help explain the market. And again, we're breaking it into first-time home buyers and ADUs, the accessory dwelling units, which is a whole myriad of options.
Right. Am I allowed to list off some of the other?
Please do. I only did the ones I knew of. Please. Let's give them attention.
So we've got obviously the people who are in attendance today, but we also have Annie Guerin from Van Dyke Mortgages. Mm-hmm. We've got Joey Carricker from the Navy Federal Credit Union. We've got Daryl Hamill. He's from Rock Solid Home Inspections. Deanne, I can't pronounce her last name, so forgive me, Deanne, but Deanne from Florida Building Inspections Group. And then Jennifer and Tim from Shelby Construction Company. We do also have Mike Rogers from Ameriprise. He'll discuss REITs, which are real estate investment trusts. So we're trying to cover a wide range of, in that second hour, investment options, some of the products that are available to you if you are an investor, as far as like for inspections and those types of things. So it's definitely worth coming out for a couple hours, if anything, just to grab some shrimp and champagne.
Right.
But we hope to see you in attendance.
It is a nice lunchtime event on Thursday, and as you mentioned, it is taking place at the City Center of St. Petersburg, 102nd Avenue South in downtown St. Pete. So a nice location to come spend a couple of hours and learn a lot about the market right now. So as we said, we're breaking it into two sections. The first hour will be about first-time home buyers, second-time investment properties and ADUs. So you told us a little bit about the first hour and one of the reasons why you brought Jay into the conversation. So maybe you would want to speak on some of this too, the 12 steps to buying a home. Can you kind of give us an overview without giving away all the secrets before the lunch on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, so the first, let's count it up. 1, 2, 3. The first 4 steps oftentimes might occur before you even identify a realtor like myself. Mm-hmm. And that's what Jay kind of specializes in. She'll nurture you from start to finish around determining what you can afford, saving a down payment if it's needed, because there are some products out there that don't require money down.
Right.
And then just identifying, what type of home you might want as well.
Jay Williams from Celebrity Home Loans, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you'll be discussing on the panel and why people will often work with you before even finding a realtor?
So primarily when people are first starting to think about purchasing a home, they really have no idea how much home they can afford.
Right.
So it's my job to kind of dig into their personal situation and determine, what are their existing debts and obligations, and, how much room is there to, add a new mortgage in.
Right.
So I look at not only their credit history, but also, how much they're planning on putting down, and help them determine if there's any down payment assistance programs that might be suitable for them. really just help them identify what loan product is good for their situation.
Right. I imagine there are times when it's hard when you have to tell a client you're looking at more home than you can afford. You're going to have to scale back your expectations. But then other times you might be able to do the reverse, tell them that you can go further, especially when you can find a program they're eligible for that they wouldn't know about. I'm not going to know what to look for, but an expert like yourself will be able to direct them to a product that can help them get more buying power, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know, and that's what I help people figure out is how to get their ducks in a row.
Right. I know that when I like to go around the area and look at homes and go, one day a house like that would be perfect for me on the water. Right now, I probably can't afford that large 4,000 square foot home on the water, but you would be able to help somebody have a realistic expectation and get their financial situation ready before they contact a realtor, so when they go in there, they can streamline the process.
Well, typically when someone has contacted a realtor, it's because they found a property that they like and they're excited about. And if you really want to see that property, you want to already have your pre-approval in hand.
Right.
Because if you love it and you want to put an offer in, you don't want to miss out.
Right.
Because you weren't prepared in
because
advance.
somebody else came in and goes, well, hey, we're interested, here's our offer, and then now the first party's going to go back out and start to do their research.
Right. It's devastating to lose a dream home because of being unprepared.
Right. Or because you didn't know your financial picture. And to go through the process, then you're wasting the time, not only your time, but the realtor's time, the homeowner's time, the other people that are involved. So having a better expectation and speaking to someone like you, Jay, with Celebrity Home Loans that can help you get everything ready and make sure you can get the home that you want, because maybe you do have to take a little time and work some finances around, pay down a couple of bills, maybe find another stream of income in the meantime. There's a lot you can do to get ready for this, correct?
Correct. And honestly, I like to talk to people before they start paying things down and paying things off, because I can help them maximize every dollar and make sure that they're not paying things unnecessarily.
Right. The right things have to be done.
The right things have to be done in the right order.
Right.
And so, talking to an expert like myself about your situation and kind of coming up with a roadmap of what to do and what to do in order.
Okay.
And a lot of times the people that I'm speaking to are much closer than they realize. You don't necessarily need 20% down in order to purchase a home. And that's a misconception that a lot of people still have.
Well, who might be someone that would not have, are there programs or other type like first responders, former military programs for things like that make it more accessible for them to get into a home with a lower or no down payment as well?
Absolutely. So we've got the Hometown Heroes program that's still going on. That started in June. And there's over 60 different occupations that qualify for that program. And basically it makes home ownership accessible for people who, otherwise may have needed to wait to come up with a down payment.
Right.
So first responders, police officers,
and
people, the medical professional, the list goes on and on. There's so many people who qualify who don't even know that this help exists.
Right. Yeah, oftentimes when these programs are put into place, the marketing isn't done to let the public be aware of it, which is where you guys come into as the experts within the industry. You know how to work the system for the benefit of your customers, the clients like, me and every other person that's looking to buy a home. Now, Lucas, we're going to talk more with you in the second part because we're going to talk about the investment properties and ADUs. Carrie, how do you come into play with some of these early stages, or are you at the end with Red Door Title? How does your involvement fit into first-time home buyers, for example?
First-time home buyers, the process of buying a home is overwhelming and scary, and a lot of the times they have no idea what to do. Sometimes they have a great realtor like Ray, and they have a great lender that leads them in the right direction. But my first contact with any home buyer, and especially if it's a first-time home buyer, is to call them and let them know the process, who they're going to be hearing from, what it's going to look like, where they're going to be closing, how much we're going to be in conversation with them about their process and what to expect. And that way it kind of calms them down and it just makes it a lot smoother. When the buyer or the seller is in a good position where they feel calm, the process just is seamless.
For many people, the home is the biggest expense and investment they will make in their life. So it's a big deal. So the stress level can rise. So having someone like yourself to walk them through that process, to let them know that it's on track, that all the details are being taken care of as you go through it. And there's hopefully by the time closing arrives, no surprises. And a good closing is when you show up, everybody signs the paperwork, and you're done. because everything was done in advance, step by step, and communication was central to that.
Yeah, and it's special. We make it special for every home buyer. We have a beautiful office, like Ray said, but then we also just make the actual signing event just special. A little toast, chocolate, signing, pictures, all that kind of great stuff.
I remember the first signing for the first home I bought, and that was just kind of, it's still overwhelming when I think about the emotions of that I now have purchased a home. It was a big deal. So having the right people to get us to that point was central.
It's very exciting.
Ray, let's come back to you. Ray Woods with Realty One. Tell us more about the first hour of the Market Report Luncheon.
Right. So the first 4 steps of the sale, that's pretty much just getting prepped and ready. And then you've got step 5 through 7, which is where at that time, that's when you would work with me, right? So hopefully, there are other realtors, I'm sure you know, but hopefully we can work together. So you would start to look for a home. And then once you found that perfect home, right, it's because it's really a gut feeling, man. Once you figure out how much you can afford, if you've got options, the next thing that comes into play is where do you feel comfortable, right?
Right.
And so my job really is to just serve you, help you find the place that just speaks to you. And then once that's been identified, you make an offer. Okay, so we can discuss that in more detail on Thursday.
Right.
But after that, then you need to inspect that home because it felt right? It felt like something you should do. But if the walls aren't sturdy, the foundation isn't solid, perhaps you misread the situation, right? So we've got a couple inspectors that will be in attendance that can kind of discuss some of the pitfalls to avoid, or just some of the best practices to help you identify anything that you may have otherwise overlooked.
Right, and as you mentioned, Daryl Hamill of Rock Solid Home Inspections. I imagine this is where
And
he'll be
Deanne
speaking up on the panel,
FBI.
right?
Yep.
That's right, Deanne. So this is where they come into with their specialty to help you understand that part of the process, getting those inspections, making sure the home is everything you hope it is. Following that, what's the next step?
So once you've done that, then if you have identified any problems, you can ask for repairs, right? So we've got Tim and Jennifer from Shelby Construction. They'll be present to kind of discuss some of the common repairs that might be out there and, maybe some best practices, that kind of thing. And then you want to do a final walkthrough, and then if everything looks right, then we close. And, you want to be in a comfortable environment with someone with positive feedback like Carrie. So
that's where Carrie Claugette from Red Door Title comes into play, and we've already heard from her and know how important that process is. You'll have had communication beforehand, but on that final day, she's there to help you with the transition and get those keys into your pocket.
Right. So that's what the first hour is all about, man. Just kind of walk you through that process, get you comfortable, get you meeting and greeting with some of the appropriate people, and then we can kind of take the conversation from there.
Right. And a lot of this from the first hour will also apply to the second hour when people are buying an investment property, an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, whether it be an Airbnb and whatnot. There's still a lot of the same people that are going to be helping you through the process. Is your financial picture correct? Do you have the realtor to help you find the property? Do you have the home inspectors? All this, those that any repairs that need to be made, all these people will apply to both situations. But ADUs have a whole nother realm of information you need to be aware of, legislation, regulations, and this is where Lucas Sokolowski from Remy Emerson Vacational Rentals, this is where you get to shine because you're the one who understands ADUs if somebody wants to have a vacation rental, an Airbnb, a mother-in-law suite that they use for another purpose. So when you're here on the panel and we get to hour number 2, what are you going to cover? How will you help people understand the uses and how they need to be legally compliant?
Yeah, so the number one thing that I think we have to make clear is make sure you do your research and make sure it is legal or you're allowed to run a short-term rental operation out of that place.
Right.
But then short-term rentals, the best way to describe being successful with a short-term rental is kind of like a 3-legged stool. And so one leg is operations. You got to be really good at operations. The second leg is design, theme, and experience. And the third leg is data and market research. Data and market research is the only part of that, 3-legged stool that you can do prior to purchasing.
Okay.
Right. So what we do is we make sure that we and sifting through data is an art, right? And finding those golden nuggets, because there's a lot of data, a lot of information out there. So we want to make sure that we analyze that data and we help individuals prior to purchasing, because that is the one thing that you can do to make sure you're successful, is by looking at the numbers, looking at, market statistics, looking at what's out there, regulations and different things to make sure that you will be successful. So on the panel, I'll be discussing, how do we create that experience once we do purchase something, but we'll also be talking about, how do we do the proper research? How do we find the golden nuggets in this overwhelming amount of data that's out there, to make sure that everyone is taken care of in that and has the right information.
Will you also be able to, because I know there'll be a Q&A at the end of the event as well, will you be able to help people understand what if they already have an existing place and maybe they have a detached garage that's been converted into a suite already? Whether or not they can legally rent it out may be another issue. Will you be able to address those? I mean, is this part of the research you can do to let people know? I know it goes beyond just homeowners associations, which can be wonderful or a nightmare, depending on your neighbors. But then there are also legislation or regulations for certain communities, whether the city allows it, your neighborhood allows it. You can speak to those as well for people that may have questions, correct?
Most definitely. So what we can do is, every, like you said, HOA, county, city, state.
There's a lot to look into.
There's a lot to look into. So a lot of times we can, with the help of real estate agents, we can direct them in the right direction. Sometimes that information is in the MLS. Sometimes, we have to call the county. And there's certain things when you call the county or the city that you want to say, and there's certain things you don't want to say. There's some stigmas in the industry with certain words and certain things. So we'll go through all that information and make sure that we're well-versed and that the buyer is well-versed and that the real estate agent is well-versed when they're making those phone calls, when we're calling, when we're finding information out. Because, like I said, every city, every county, every state, is different.
Well, when you mentioned certain words have a stigma attached to them, even something as simple as ADU, I had the question, I had to ask you, what is an ADU? What is the acronym? I mean, I knew it had to do with different dwelling units, and the word is accessory dwelling unit is the generally accepted acronym for that, ADU. But I even had to look that up and ask you, help me understand this, and then it made perfect sense to me, and I understood immediately how many different ways that can be, whether you have a family member renting, whether you're doing short-term rental, long-term rental, Airbnb, which, a lot of people are excited about that, or what's the other...
Verbo or VRBO.
VRBO.
Everyone says it, in different ways. But,
right, but there are all kinds of ways to utilize your property, but if you're not legally compliant, it could end up costing you instead of making money for you as an investment.
Exactly, and it can shut down your operation, after you spent a lot of money creating that experience and creating, because, short-term rentals, we have to look at it, it's an experience. Right. And that's what we have to create. It's not just putting something together and just putting it out there and hoping for the best. We take a completely different approach to short-term rentals and vacation homes and Airbnbs, Verbos, whatever it might be. We create an experience. Right. And in order for us to create that experience, we have to make sure that we're compliant in the first place and that the homeowner is compliant in the first place.
Well, this is going to be an interesting panel on Thursday. There's limited space availability, so if you're just hearing about this, I'm going to come back to Ray Woods in just a minute so he can explain where you can go to look up more information online, how to make to RSVP to the event to see if you can get in, because this is a highly coveted event with limited availability. And I'm glad it's only going to be the first of many that you put on, because there are always going to be new people coming into the market with questions. So before we wrap up, because this has been a very quick and compelling conversation, I do want to go back through again for a final word from each of you. So, Jay Williams, let's go ahead and start with you from Celebrity Home Loans. Jay Williams, final thoughts here on the show.
I would say if you're considering purchasing a property, whether it's for you and your family to live in or whether it's to add to an investment portfolio, the first place to start is with a good, solid pre-approval. Right. And to get an idea of, what you can afford going in. And, just be prepared to provide the information necessary for us to do a good job of qualifying you.
Excellent. And we're going to go back to Lucas Sokolowski from Remy Emerson Vacation Rentals. Final thoughts.
I'm just excited to be there on Thursday, answer any questions. And, excellence doesn't happen on accident. And we want to make sure that we provide an excellent experience for everyone. And that they have, an excellent experience for their guests and for the people that come and stay with them. So it can produce a lot of great, benefits, financial benefits, personal, travel benefits. So we're there to answer any questions and support, owners, real estate agents, lenders, title companies through that process, because we all have to work together in order for this to be successful.
Right. And Carrie Claugette from Red Door Title.
Yeah, and thank you, Ray, for having me on this panel on Thursday. I'm excited to be there as a sponsor, but also raising a child takes a village, but buying a home takes a village too. And when you have your team together and they are working rock solid together, that makes especially for a first-time home buyer, it just makes it so much easier. So get your lender and your agent and your title company. If you're an investor and need property management, get those people who all work together and let your team go to work for you.
Yeah, see, I have 4 of you in here right now, and I could see how I could use each one of you in a purchase, and that's still half of what I need. Because now I'm looking at, I need a home inspector. I might need a construction company for repairs. I'm going to need someone to help with mortgages. I mean, all of this comes into play. So I'm glad you're having those aspects on the panel on Thursday as well. But you're right, Carrie, it does take a village. You need a lot of people with the right knowledge. And our host, Ray Woods, who is putting on the event this Thursday, final thoughts from you, and we'll wrap up with how people can come to the event.
Yeah, I just want to start off by saying what I liked about Lucas's program. I just want to make sure it's clear. Not all the weight is on Lucas, right? He'll be the first to admit that in many cases it's not the location of your short-term rental, right? It could just be simple tweaks you could make, small restorations, right, that can make all the difference, that could really bump up your daily rate and make your business, what was flatlining, a success. So I can't fail to mention that Alec from Boone Architectural and Restoration, he'll be in attendance too to talk about restorations and renovations. And then again, Tim and Jennifer from Shelby Construction, for those people who already have ADUs, right? Not necessarily just concerned with identifying whether or not they can, but they've got one already and they really want to ramp up their business and turn it into something profitable. We have those people in attendance as well as industry experts.
Right. Now, the event on Thursday, once again, it is going to be at City Center, St. Petersburg, 102nd Avenue South, from noon until 2 on this Thursday, December 15th, 2 days from now. So if somebody wants to go and learn more about it and make a reservation, an RSVP, if there are any spots left, because there is some urgency to this, how do they go about doing so? So
the URL is going to sound bold. I promise you I just got it for SEO. But it is Tampa Bay's topagent.com. If you go there, the first thing you'll see is a pop-up to the event with a button that allows you to reserve a seat. We are approaching capacity, so if you are interested, I would encourage you to go there right now. If there's any seats, you need to scoop them up.
And that website again? It's
Tampa Bay's topagent.com. It's spelled out just as it sounds. No apostrophe.
No apostrophe. Just Tampa Bay's topagent.com. I found it.
Yep, you got
topagent.com.
Yep.
Tampa Bay's topagent.com. I also found it by going on Facebook and just doing a search for The Market Report. And under events, I saw the luncheon, and you can find it there as well.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, this is all happening on Thursday, so go ahead and try to reserve a spot if you can, and you can be a part of the Market Report Luncheon. Bring your questions. You'll have a panel of experts to listen to with a Q&A at the end to get those questions answered. So I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming in today. Ray Woods, thank you for contacting us and organizing this. Jay, thank you for coming in from Celebrity Home Loans. Lucas, coming in from Remy Emerson Vacation Rentals, and Carrie from Red Door Title. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for being.
This has been a mini panel for what you'll experience on Thursday, the Market Report and the Market Report Luncheon.